Hey guys, it's George with the GLG Homes and GLG Realty Group. Now, today I want to talk to you a little bit about finished basements and insulating. I want to show you a couple things. First and foremost, and I'll explain what all of these different things are, but first and foremost, when you're finishing a basement, remember that you have to do three things in order for it to be considered living space, okay? You have to have points of egress, so you have to have doorways that get you in and out of spaces safely. You have to have electricity. You don't have to have water, okay? Because even though we're putting in a half bath down here for washer dryer, water's not required for living space, but it has to be insulated, heated, have electrical, and be finished space. You know, walls have to be done, floors have to be done, stuff like that. So what I wanted to show you is when you're insulating a basement, there are, people do it in different ways, but there's really just two things you have to keep in mind. Number one, you have to remember that your outside foundation wall is cold and has moisture to it. So you need to have a vapor barrier before you do any sort of other insulation, like pink insulation or mineral wool. We prefer to use mineral wool. Why? Well, it's a great insulating value, number one. Number two, it has a fire retardance to it. And number three, it acts as a sound dampener. So it can help make things quiet, especially if you use it in areas like in a furnace area on an interior wall. Now, you don't need to insulate an interior wall, okay? But you do need to insulate your outside walls. So you can see behind me two different things going on there. Now, I'm gonna explain that, okay? So in some cases, if you're framing and you don't have great access to, let me back up. Before you frame, I'll show you here, okay? Before you frame in, if you wanna make your life easier, put up half-inch insulation. Now, the way we do it, which is what most people do, take your panel, you're gonna glue and screw it to the wall. And when I say glue and screw, I just mean you're gonna glue it and you're gonna end up taping it. We do tape on it just to help create a nice, clean, tight seal between the edges, get rid of any sort of air gapping that may be there, but also helps to just keep everything in position, of course, okay? When we do it, we mount tape on the inside wall. So this is taped to the wall, as well as you can see some remnants of my foam, my adhesive. Some of that adhesive, taping job, then we lay another piece on. It's kind of like hanging sheetrock if you think of it. But by doing this first, now I've got my insulating value against the wall. Now this isn't enough to insulate the basement, okay? So this goes first. Then what you can do is you can take your framing. Jiminy cricket, okay? Your framing comes in. Now what happens? Your framing can get nice and tight against that wall, okay? Don't put framing, especially in a finished basement, do not put your framing direct against the concrete. And here's why, because of that moisture factor. So if you put up your insulation first, then your wood's never gonna touch that concrete wall. If you don't put up insulation first and you, let's see if I can find an example. Well, we didn't do any of that in this house. So if you end up framing first, okay, and you put that framing up, then you have to cut and insert your pieces in. Now this here, you can see this gap here. The reason why this is here, this gapping, we didn't do any framing in here, because of the bottom threshold area, okay? So when you come down the steps, you have to have a minimum span of 36 inches. If it's pre-existing, so it's gonna be grandfathered in, then what it is, the building department in your area, check with your local building codes, they should allow that. But at this, if I took this and extended this flat across to create a landing, I won't have a minimum 36-inch opening at the base here, and the town would flag me for it. And they would make me either A, take it out, or potentially rebuild the stairs, which I'm not doing, okay? So, by having our foam insulation in place, our framing over our foam insulation, then we put up our mineral wool. We pack that mineral wool in. This is a good example of why it's so important to work with everything at standard 16s, okay? Because when you do that, your insulation is going to fit in just right. It's going to hold nice and tight. It's not going to move. And when you have smaller areas, because we had to do a box frame for this because we need an access panel for that natural gas, but when you have smaller areas, or if you have a larger one like we had to do here, then it still allows you to be able to turn that in. But otherwise, if you're doing it on 16s, you get a clean opening. Now you may be wondering, why is there a little opening right there? Well, simply put, we had to do a water test on the house and we put in a clean out right over here, which you're not gonna be able to see inside here, but there's a clean out inside here. Hang on. There's a clean out inside here. Ran the hose in, so now I just got to fill that in. But you can see there's a gap. You may be saying, well, wait a minute, why is there a gap? Okay, well, there's a gap because our sewer line runs all along this wall and it runs into there. And there's one of our drain lines that's running for our washer and dryer unit. Another quick point, when you are framing a utility room and the electric panel is inside that utility room and it's going to be a wet room like a bathroom or washer dryer room, this utility panel must have a minimum 36-inch clearance between it and any sort of wet appliance, okay? That's probably not the best description of it, but you get the point. The point is you can't have a washer dryer right up against the area where that electric panel is. You can't. It'll never pass code, number one. Number two, you should never build it that way anyway. So, one last thing on insulation. You see I've got some gapping here. So we're going to do some blocking up in here with our mineral wool. Get that up in nice and tight because you want to run that all the way up. It helps with your fire blocking. And inside this gap here, you may be wondering, well, what am I doing? This whole section right here is going to be a built-in. So it's going to enclose this. Okay, anything else? No, that's pretty much it. So, just some tips and things to keep in mind when you're framing and finishing off a basement downstairs. Make sure you pay attention to your insulation. I can't emphasize that enough. People don't put enough time and effort into it, and they end up with cold basements, and they wonder why they spend so much to heat it. The only heat that is in this place right now is coming from that furnace, and it's got to be 60 degrees down here. I mean, I'm wearing shorts, and it's comfortable. I wear shorts all the time, but anyway, listen, if you like the content, if you're interested in learning more about these types of things, just hit that like and subscribe button. You'll get more. Thanks, guys. Have a great one.